Good morning. Good morning to everybody. This is Engineer Suraj Singh speaking from Bharat, India. On this day, April 9th, 2021, Friday, with title of talk, Civil Field Engineering Designs, Construction Methods, Contracts, EPC, AnnexSL, Organizations, Communications, Coordination, Quantity, Quality, YB, and Quality of Concrete. Focus of this talk is mainly on quality. 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 Quality which is considered currently too significant to be achieved because it has not been achieved till now. It has been achieved partly and not to extent required in general. This talk is professional talk. This talk is general talk. This talk is common talk. And this talk relates to everybody, every person around the world. What do I consider quality? It's not that what I say, everybody has to think that way. And quality means quality. Quality means quality, I can say. There is no substitute for quality. There is no substitute for quality, and there is no substitute for something else other than quality, which relates to designs, which relates to construction, which relates to all activities, which relates to performance and time, which relates to risks, which relates to reliability, which relates to analysis, and which relates to thinking, which relates to everything else. You can say analysis, synthesis, thinking, which are all linked together. Thinking, which is the root of everything. If you cannot think, you are a brainless person. Then contemplation, and then engineering it is called. So you can say engineering relates to applications, and there is contemplation, and then thinking, and then you can say likewise analysis and synthesis, and of course reliability, risks, and cost, time, like that. Method statements are medium, construction, designs, and quality. This is what I think. There may be other factors too, but these factors cover entirely whole scenario. This constitute, Now, it's easy to define quality by every person to an extent that person understands meaning of quality. But that person or whosoever understands quality, that person understands quality in terms of quality controls. That's it. And that quality control is not very common. That is very much technical, very much engineering. Quality has to be understood in its entirety, not in controls only. Controls is one part of that, but there is another definition. There are many definitions. There are many ways to, you can say, grasp meaning of quality. When I work, I think of quality, but it is not enough if you think. You have to give it. One has to give it. And how to give that is a point here. How to give that? How to link yourself to quality? For example, this is a picture here. You can see this picture. A building, small building, having skies and eyes in terms of windows. Though it's only structure, but it's telling something. I am looking at everyone. I am located in space. You can see this building, white color, and this other building besides, you can see this. Lot of difference there, lot of difference. You may say, this building has got ventilation. There is no lintel, only beam here. This building also got ventilation on this end, and also on other side is not seen in this. Also here you can see behind this wall same design as on this floor, and there's balcony here, there's balcony here, there's, you can say, smaller balcony this end, and all ventilations go behind that. You can see that. Now this building says, I want to see everyone, I want to breathe, I want to respire, I don't want to be overloaded, I want to freely work and serve you. Don't push me, don't punish me, right? We have given proper arrangement to this balcony. This is 1.8 meters span balcony, and you can see these beams, cantilever beams. Similarly, beams here, everywhere. It says that structure should be perfect. This is slabs and these beams and these frame beams and torsion beams and all that structure was calculated, viewed and done. I'm just giving you an example what way we have to see this structure of building, though it's very small building. It was done every way. It was done in total designs. I'm not saying a software, I'm talking of mental application on this design using whatever formula, whatever theorem. In fact, in this frame analysis, very old theorem was used, not finite analysis or something, but only Carney's contribution method was used. Carney's rotation contribution method, which is a very old one, means moment distribution and redistribution. Moments means bending moments, which everybody cannot understand. In buildings, when we talk of buildings, we talk of forces apply on that building, and now we call them actions apply on those members of frame, members of structure. And structure means this cantilever structure, this beam frame, and the columns here. All these where columns are there total all around, and beams crosswise. So it is three-dimensional structure. Main beams, secondary beams, and like that you can say going up to down foundations, down located foundations. That's what structure means. A structure has to perform for this building in unique way, in every way. It's not bricks here, it's not railing here, it's no plaster or something here, and it's no this wall. It's structure of this building that has to digest every action on this, imposed on this by whatever force, by its own weight and by other weights like live weights, live actions and temporary actions and transient actions and persistent actions and accidental actions, seismic forces, wind forces, thermal energies, whatever applied on this structure, only structure takes. That point we have to understand. A structure is responsible. A structure is responsible to bear all such forces, all such actions. No brick, no plaster, no rendering, no paint are meant for that purpose. It's cosmetic only. This decoration, this elevations, is only for cosmetic purpose. Real purpose is taken care of by structure. And that's what I say. If a structure fails, building fails, there is no meaning of finishes, there is no meaning of decoration, there is no meaning of elevation. If a structure fails, everything fails. It's like our body. If my anatomy fails, body fails. Is anatomy of building is a structure, and structure means RCC structure. It also means structural steel. It also means pre-stressed concrete. It means whatever we use in our life, but generally RCC is used in buildings. It may be whatever class of building. It may be residential, institutional, commercial, or whatever it is. You can say low rise or high rise or multi-story structure. RCC is commonly used. In past, before 50 years, 60 years, 70 years, we did not have RCC to that extent. It was, but not to that extent. In those days, stones were used and also bricks were used. We can say now, time of concrete. RCC means concrete, reinforced concrete. Reinforced means steel bars or whatever else you use. Steel bars in combination with concrete work together to form to form structural framing, and that framing works in all direction. In all direction, I mean to say x-axis, y-axis, and z-axis, all directions work, and that should work successfully. Building, actually, to be very frank, in ordinary language we can say dance. It may dance. Your building may dance. And there's forces, horizontal sways, horizontal forces at different heights of building. I'm not talking of gravity load. Gravity load is not much a problem. Problem are impacts of horizontal or rocking or whatever mode building is enforced during seismic action, during wind action. Those forces are taken care by framing. So we have to be very serious about design and construction of framing, including foundation and soil. If we think of that, if we concentrate on that, and if we work for concentration on contemplation and thinking and thinking and thinking, we can say we can produce better prospects of design. This point we have to understand. Better design means you have to think qualitatively. What does design means? To think qualitatively. If you can think qualitatively, we can do better work. It's very much normal. So that point is quality. Quality works. Quality concrete. Quality steel. We call it reinforcing bars. And also quality housing. I mean to say quality framing. Framing if it's quality 1. Framing means diaphragm, slab or walls. I mean to say diaphragm actionable slabs, thin plate we call them. Slabs with beams which are cast monolithic, and vertical members like columns, and also vertical members like walls, shear walls, etc., which contribute to horizontal actions, resistance, as well as vertical loads, moments, etc. Slab is also moment. Maybe you people do not know what is the moment. When some load is applied on the horizontal or vertical member, always it moves from its own place to somewhere else in millimeters or centimeters. Suppose there is a slab, you are standing on a slab. The slab tries to sag, and that sagging is the effect of force. You are motion from its original position with varying at center, for example, its maximum, at edges it is less. That curve is formed, and that is because of various bending moments. So bending means something being tried to be bent temporarily, and when you remove that load, it tries to come back to original position, or there is some, you can say, some deflection, we call it. Deflection is there. We got deflection. It deflected. It's from horizontal curve. A horizontal line is going to curve after deflection. So that's what we talk of. It's because of movements. It's because of forces. I cannot explain everything in this because this is very common talk. Those who want to listen, who want to understand, they should know that there are certain bending moment forces. There are certain vertical forces, gravity forces. There are certain horizontal forces. There are certain, then we see there are forces from every way, horizontal force, vertical force, load force, wind force, and seismic force and thermal effect. All these are taken into consideration while doing design, and these points must be taken carefully, very carefully, depending on localized area, and also we have to consider national and international codes for that purpose. That is quality work. We have to take into our, I say design is based on quality because procedures are fixed. You cannot change them. So, but point here is not design. Point here is if a designer does too excellently, all drawings are produced whichever required. There is no gap, and if there is a gap that can be closed, then it can fill in. That's the point we have to clearly understand. If you say okay, this is design, and we understand what to do. So there are various ways we can say in projects. There are so many requirements in planning, in design, in and other processes involved. But quality point must be infilled into every action. If we don't fill quality in project requirements, we can't give qualitative reasons, then there is no meaning of that. If we can't give quality in project organization, concept and its necessity, there is no meaning of that. If we don't consider project organization of management qualitatively, there is no meaning of that. Likewise, if we say brief analysis, we have to conduct analysis to understand how to combine project plan with required knowledge areas, how to integrate project plan with required knowledge areas, whatever we have based on experience or based on our understanding. That's what's quality requirement. Structure sequences of project organization or management knowledge area requirements. That's also should be based on complete quality requirement, safety requirement. Risk response plans, we can say risk organization plan, risk management plan, what we do think we will get risk in. Yes, of course, risks must come in. There is no way risk won't come. You are going to spend material, you are going to spend money, you are going to spend everything. So there must be risk on that. Financial risk, work risk, quality risk, failure risk, whatever risk. There's no one, no two. It depends on what you are doing. So that risk must be pulled in. That risk must be imported by your actions, by your response, by your analytical work, by your understanding, by complete analysis. You can say risk response plan can be derived, can be charted out if we understand what risk is. Similarly, communication must be full of quality. If we cannot communicate successfully, if we cannot communicate, you can say qualitatively, not quant. I do not write 1,000 words on letter. I would write 10 or 15 words, so my meaning is communicated, but it should be explicit, clear. I am not miser in using word. I am not saying that be miser. Use correctly, use clearly, absolutely, so that whatever it is required to communicate, that communication works successfully. That's called quality communication. It's not simply communication. That communication should be specific, pointed, bulleted, and carry meaning, and other guy must understand your meaning so that timely response is received. So it is quality communication. Communication has broadened now because of internet, because of various technologies. So it cannot be abused. This must be properly thought of. What you have to write, what you have to speak, what you have to do, you have to think first. That's why I say thinking is basic unit of quality work. It's the initiation of what? Initiation of charter constitution, which must contain quality information. Quality information respecting planning, respecting ownership, and you can say all documents that must form bid or that must relate to bid, that must relate to tender, that must relate to execution of or implementation process, that relates to communication channels or processes, that relates to monitoring and updates, and also ultimately we learn something from that. We learn from our errors, we learn from mistakes, and we also learn from our success. Because if we get success, it's excellent. We should repeat that. If we make error, we have to understand why error was caused so that repetition of error is avoided. Then we have to we have to qualitatively complete that project and put in for its permanent use. So that's what I say. We have to think always what is quality, what is that, and that's very important point. We should not take it for granted. We should understand what we are saying. So so that's what I say. Quality means again and again I show you this file because this file tells you something, this file gives you something. Quality says what, where I stand, what I am, what do you understand of me. You try to understand me, I shall improve you. This is what quality speaks of. It says, you think of me, I would think of you because I constitute system, I constitute individuality, I constitute element of material, I am everywhere. I am unknown identity, but I am your identity. Because I am unknown, I enter in your identity, and that's where my role stands about. You may be an individual, you may be an organization, you may be whatever. I enter you. I am not entity like you. I am in mind. I reside in minds. I reside in the brain world. I reside in your thinking power. I reside in your mind, in your hearts. But I like to stay in mind because heart does not support me. Heart spoils me. Heart excites itself and destroys me. So quality speaks something that I make system. I make your personality. I make everything. That's what quality speaks, but it depends on my design because I cannot design myself. Somebody has to design for me, and that's where design comes in. And design can be for all stages. Design, all stages. I mean to say, all stages. No isolation. No isolation in that. All stages. Very important factor we have to see. All stages designs in building world, in world of structure. When we start thinking something, design comes into play. It's not structural design alone. It is whole project design and designs related to vistas in relation to other projects, existing buildings. If it's not greenfield project, if it is greenfield project, okay, we can take into considerations what is brownfield. That's what is important. So designs have no limits. Construction too has no limits. If design requires, we have to construct. But we have to construct according to what is quality work, what is quality specification, what we should do, what we should not do. That's where we learn. We learn from our mistakes. We also learn from our experience. If we not learn, we know how to make every work better than previous time. We have to take it into consideration of mental work. That thinking is our friend. Without thinking, hardly I can move and hardly some professional can move because thinking is very much part of your professional work. You may be in whatever profession, if you are not thinking, you are not professional. If you don't think of everything, you are not professional. You may have degrees, higher and higher degrees, that's fine. But do you have really those degrees? Do you respect those degrees? Did you really learn from that? That's where point lies in. If I cannot learn from them, I cannot teach anybody. Construction that. Construction is sequence of activities, hundreds of activities, and that sequence must be respected. If you miss sequence, there can be any cause. You can cause any error in that. So my statement emphasizes that we have to not to think of from sake of thinking only. Or if it's like, okay, we'll sell it, we may sell it or we may not sell it. Point is not that. Point is how much can we move? That's the main point. How much can I move? How much can you move? That's the point. Move on what? Move on quality, move on construction, move on that. That's what method statements are generated for. This is a medium that we have to write, we have to think, we have to do something. That statement is nothing new. It was before, it is now, and shall remain in force because we have to write something or we have to think something and chart our process in mind because mind can also contain that. If you've done another work whole day, fine, but it depends on you. You have to respect that paper world, you have to respect electronic world as well because it's going to let you work when you are going to sleep. You have to work at that time. Fine, it doesn't matter. But question arises, what do you think of this? Now, I'm not going into this one. I would say let's concentrate on this part. As I said, last time we concentrated and we were somewhere on I don't know which page it was. Let me go and see. Where were we? We are somewhere here. You can say we were somewhere risk we were considering. We consider those times. Okay, this was gone, this was done. So we can say we have to, last time we considered scope charter, we discussed quality standards and time significant risk factors and risk impacts, and all those we discussed. Cost element, required plans, move in, move out, motivation, mobility, procurement, communication skills, all right. Now we discussed certain risk before that. We discussed all that in last talks. Procurement also is part of risk if delayed. There can be no delay in procurement if procurement of whatever, procurement of human resources, procurement of materials, or procurement of equipment, or procurement whatever is required for that purpose. If that is delayed, whole project is delayed. Risk is we don't find, we don't analyze, we cannot successfully move on a project. So we are talking of project stays, process include. We are talking of charter. What is actually that? And we discuss communication, and I said communication is along with, you can say, communication along with use all these materials, all these resources. Communication plays a very important role in every location, in every activity or project. Without communication, you cannot do anything. And communication means maybe sometimes what happens, something stays in mind, but when you have to communicate, you don't communicate it because we don't know how to write or how to communicate. Communication is also an art. How to communicate? Communication means how to first phrase. First phrasing is important, and before phrasing, thinking is important. So communication starts from what do you want to say something, what does it relate to your contract, and how does it relate to other records. It should not go against our own documents. That's a major point. So communication itself is a word, and communication means project stage, every stage communication plays a role. There's no way it can't be. So we have to respect communication in every affair of project. And you can say what are those we see now. We consider, for example, there are some stages. We initiate something, then we can say we plan something, and we also say we execute that or implement that. And by that during the implementation, we have to monitor that. We have to monitor and update completion. So here is in brief its whole construction cycle with design cycle. It moves in. I'm sorry. So what do you think about? We think, let's talk of charter. Charter. Maybe you don't have chance to use this term, but doesn't matter. Doesn't matter. You can understand it. What is charter? It's written responsibility. You can say it's written rights. You can say it's written objective. You can say it is written formally. It's written by law. It's written under law. So we have to take this point into our complete in our mind openly. How we handle charter? There's one stage we call initiation. What is initiation? Project's initial charter constituents. Do we understand that? If we can understand initiation, well, I think that's a very big issue if everybody can understand that. Because initiation is very difficult. Means you have to start from scratch. Yes, you have to start from scratch. Sorry. If I start from scratch, this means I have something in my mind. Something in my mind means whatever we can say, whatever originally comes into mind, that should be valued. We should not always run behind references. I want to use these references, or someone give this reference. No. We have to think about what we have to do. It's not always possible to practice something which is done in the past, thinking this also shall be done this time. No, that's not true. I'm sorry. We say project's initial charter constituents. Composition of charter, you may say. You say, what is necessity of project? That's number one. What is necessity of this project? Policy, compliance of economy or organization. Service that this project shall serve to economy or organization. Listing deliverables, listing important milestones, listing stakeholders, proposed budget allocation, availability of basic infrastructure to allow project or acquisitions requirements, defining scope by descriptive statement, understanding scope by thorough analysis founded on technical or field details, provided corroborated by various technological philosophies, understanding deliverables, understanding deliverable probabilities with normal good, Business risks. Understanding risks and requirements of risk management plus assessment of goals, expected growth of business, charter formation, charter authorization, duration of project, existence of project manager or leader, definition and allotment, allocation of resources, formal announcement, post required organization type with champion designations, definition and black belts requirements. This process shall be updated as and when required during currency of life cycle of project. Let us see. Then there is same bulleted points of planning, and also you may complete long list. Planning, then again about various how client has to do it, how contractor has to do it, how engineer it. We'll see. We'll look into that from each and every aspect. Now we talk of charter. So we let us say was initiation. Initiate. What to initiate? That point lies here. After all, what we have to initiate? Meaning clearly says that we have to start something. We have to originally start something from 0, 0, from XOX and YOX origin. That's to initiate something. And remember, initiation is also very difficult because we should have objective or we should have some aim, we should have some milestones already decided. Otherwise, we shall move only in charter and won't come out of that. So what happens around? We have to take all those points into consideration. Number one is necessity of project. After all, why project is required? Or this answer can be given by economy, can be given only by society, or can be given only by those people who govern some area. What for this project is coming up? It's a question of how much money you shall get, how much profit organization make, but what is social contribution actually? Because everybody works for society. You may be international company, everywhere you have liability, you have responsibility to include yourself into that process of initiation. Why this project is required? It can be explained by everybody. Because we cannot do any project if it's not required. Why shall we waste our resources when something is not expected, not, you can say, is necessitated? So we have to define project first, necessity of that project, and this varies for every project. Means it's for our record. We have to record, we have to include, we have to declare, we have to speak on that record that this is necessity of this project. It cannot be avoided. There is no way that we can avoid that. Then we say, okay, we have understood what this project is about and this essential product. And you say, what is policy? Policy compliance of economy or organization. We have to chart out some policy pertinent that project we have already adopted. We have to define policies, all applicable policies, what our organization policy is, what our institution policy is, and what is law and order policy there. all that we have to learn, we have to understand, because learning is not that easy as we think so, and it is very easy also if we learn it safely, honestly. So we cannot simply say, if there is a description of why project is required, everything is described. No, you have to decide policy compliance of economy, organization. Then you can say policy must be known to you through this quality system. What company wants? That's a very great point. Let's say economy is affected. Yes, economy is affected. And we can call such area where so many people reside, thousands of animals reside. This period is that we call, you can say, as you remember we saw in this, you can say dead move post. We have to see how to organize that project. Even if we do not know properties of cycle, we can say we can handle it. So this is where policy compliance lies in, what policy or what we want to apply onto this. Then we can say service that this project shall give to economy, organization. That's very important point. We simply cannot take a project because we have to take a project. When we take up some project, even as contractor, we have to take complete charge of that. From time to time, we have to take charge, and finally, in one day, we can say, I'm bored and no work here, let somebody come and do. That is clear indication that we don't want to understand thoroughly. We don't want to spend time in investigate at. We just depend on our information. We can say we have to see what service shall this project provide to our economy and to organization. And we can ask then all services in global great have seen, you can say, means this project serve the economy successfully or the organization. Now what shall this proposal give to us? It says, when contacted by so we have to see, for doing this project, whatever we have, what are durable deliveries, what for this project has been designed. We have to deliver those objective items, and that's where we can say project is successful. Otherwise, no. When we devise such project, not a structural project, I'm talking engineer's part on structure only. Though if you are structural, means you have gone through more experience, then even at time of repair, you can be called that this is a long read person. Then we can say deliverables that we make list of. It's not difficult. delivery is already defined, or you have to extract from details on project. When we can say there can be a number of deliverables, they can be delivers in structure, delivers in before structure, deliver the descriptions in river, description damage. It's all natural objectives that we have to keep for them. So deliverables, when we write in, we know what is our objective, where should we focus. 2. And listing important milestones. That's a great item. Means in whatever time is awarded to you, in that time we have to finish all the project, all activities. There are hundreds of still fixes, or not 100, there will be 2 or 3 masons. After that, we can say these are important milestones we have to achieve. Then you have to list stakeholders also who are going to own responsibility of losses or profits or nothing on this project. All stakeholders. You can say listing important milestones, listing stakeholders. You have to list them as well. Who are they? Complete records should be with you, and all transpirations, transpirations with them should be explicitly given. Though it's not announced during condolence, but it's only for sake of genuinity this got in. We can say proposed budget allocation. That's the main point. If there's no allocation, you cannot do anything. Simple. Without money, we can't move far. We have to keep this in mind. We have to use money properly and to only extent where it has been put its extension. It can be removed anytime, there's no harm. But if we remove, it stops. It shouldn't happen. We have to understand all this. Then we can say, what are you saying? Proposed budget allocation is very important, that you have to check into. If you don't have, you have to put it. You have to arrange for this budget allocation. And then availability of basic infrastructure to allow project or acquisitions requirements. Do we have infrastructure where we are doing something, or infrastructure is also required to be added? That's the main point. Without that, nothing is possible. Second, then what you say, project or acquisition requirements. Acquisition requirements means must have an infrastructure to take them, and then defining scope by descriptive statement. Yes, scope by descriptive statement. It's very much required. You can say it's your opportunity to understand project. 100%. This is what analysis is required for. Means it's not simply I'm taking this project and without conducting a study. If I agree on that, then I shall be sufferer, because it is my duty to understand all inputs, to understand all requirements, even though they may change, but at least how it were we have to know. During even whatever stage we have to understand that. Refer it to books or refer it to other books. It's your choice as economist or as economically, or can say economics qualified, whatever you are. Then we have to decide scope. I can say scope is real requirement. It's not only given current one. Scope is everywhere. We have to define scope in details. Means it shall tell where you have to do or where to fail. Because when we attend in works, we have so many responsibilities, and everybody says, okay, do it now, do it later on, and we'll back up. So this later on won't work, You have to define everything now. Even if you are a builder, you have to define everything now so that you can clearly chart out contract. You may say about this scope. Complete scope must be given in details. Then of course scope of by descriptive statement. Understanding scope by thorough analysis. Understanding scope by thorough analysis, that is founded on technical or feed details, front-end engineering design details, provided and corroborated by various technological philosophies. You can say thorough analysis is very important point we have to do, and we have to chart out feed details, which is to corroborate by various technological philosophies. Understanding deliverables probabilities with normal good business risks. Means deliverables, whatever we deliver, is that demandable? Shall that work? That's point here. Or there are further risks that would endanger our deliverables, or those we have to understand about position of market, position of what we are going to sell it, or we are going just to use it for our people. It's for residential purpose, or it's for social purpose, or it's for exclusively commercial purpose. All that we have to consider into our understanding risks and requirements of risk organization plan. You have to understand risk. That business is such high risk, high degree, you lose something. If you lose business, means you lose business for night. So we have to understand risk in that case, what risks we expect if we do that way. It analyzes all those systems once and twice and thrice, or whatever times you think it's better for you to understand. Then assessment of goals or targets. You have to do it. Expected growth of business. How shall it help you grow your business? That point must be done. Charter formation. Charter authorization. Duration of project. Charter formation and charter authorization. You have formed a charter. You have to review it. You have to see all items that have been spoken or entered in your system, entered your net, or entered your that company after downloading a file. Use them for your project only, not for every project. You have to see that. You can say charter authorization. Yes, it's a very important point. Charter authorization means taking responsibility. All responsibility. All. No excursion. All responsibility means designs, construction responsibility, quality responsibility, and all responsibilities that work together to move to safe distance. Then after approving or authorizing the charter, duration of course will be decided, and existence of project exists, and who shall be project manager. We decided. It's for an announcement, you can say. Existence of project leader, definition and allotment, allocation of resources. Of course, resources you have, and your resource must stay safe without causing any problem. And of course, then we have to decide about who shall look after this project. Competent person, engineer, who will be designated as project leader or project lead or project representative. We have to stay behind. Then we can say, okay, we go to project leader, we define that project leader, and we can say definition, allotment, allocation of resources. We allocate all this, we define, we allot, and then we make formal announcement in our organization and possible required organization type with champion designation, defining and black belt requirements. So what we see in this sequence, we see a sequence of learning here, sequence that we said initiation, we say in charter, it is necessity of project, it is necessity of project, it is policy compliance of economy or organization, service that this project shall serve or give you or to organization, then listing, deliverables. It's a difficult word to speak, so we should speak deliverables. You may say also deliverables, and then listing important elements. Now, let's move further. In this case, if you say we've gone through this chapter, listing deliverables, listing important milestones, listing stakeholders, proposed budget allocation, availability of basic infrastructure to allow project or acquisition requirements, defining scope by descriptive statement, and then understanding scope by thorough analysis founded on technical feed details provided corroborated by various technological philosophies, understanding deliverables, probabilities, and normal good. Business risks, understanding risks and requirements of risk management, plan and assessment of goals, expected growth of business, charter formation, charter authorization, and also we say duration of project, which is calculated one, the right to wait without duration the project is not out of 8. So we can say we have done formal announcement within possible required organization type with champion designation, definition, and black belt requirements. We'll go to planning, development of project plan, major processes, constituents within planning, knowledge areas, integration with development plans. It's very much complex. It may be, you can say, planning duration, we'll just speak and see later on. Scope review, verification, schedule of missing information, contract review, deliveries listing, deliveries milestones, listing of sub-projects, Let's think of all this. One by one we'll see. Maybe I'll be back with this. Let me go and see. If you can do it, fine. Read yourself first. Try to understand. We'll speak together. Now this pointed one, a lot of history in that. We'll cover it. We'll come back after some time. Sorry, gentlemen, little late because of some reason. I'm back to work. Now, we'll say how it works. Let us see how it works. We say in this process, in this planning process, development of project plan, which is very important. Major processes, constituents within planning, knowledge areas, integration with development plan. Planning duration, scope review, verification, schedule of missing information, contract review, deliveries, listing, deliveries, milestones, listing of sub-projects, project milestones, impact of liquidated damages, long lead items, major items on project, decision about sequences, decision about overlapping activities, work breakdown structures, work packages, detailed activities, activities quantifications and time allocation to activities based on resources or resources driven time allocation, allocation of dates, allocation of direct resources, application of indirect resources, resources leveling, formation of histograms and S-curves, application of material or activities based unit rate cost, number of workforce hours, number of equipment hours, permissible variation in hours, probability of fast-taking impacts, probabilities of fast-taking impacts that may be successfully applied, calculation of sub-projects cost, calculation of project cost, budget estimates, planned by progress histograms or curve, planned inflow of incoming payment certificates, cash expenditure based on planned progress, profit or losses, forecasting, procurement plan or schedule and material approval schedule, drawings approval schedule, staff mobilization and demobilization schedule, type of project organization, recommendations, critical execution problems, competency of personnel suggestions, formation of optimized organization chart, integration of various sub-projects or projects to formulate of produce program, conferencing proposal among management organization, approval and authorization from organizational management, making submission to client, project cost or finance planning, project organization planning, project quality planning, project safety planning, project systems planning, project communication planning, project risk management planning, project closing planning, dealings with works suspension planning, planning demobilization, defects remedial planning and project maintenance planning. Let's start with this planning. After all, what's planning? What do you mean by planning? We speak a lot about planning, but what does it mean? Have a thought. I'm saying development of project plan. Okay, project plan, major processes, constituents within planning, knowledge areas integration with development plan. But what does plan means? Is it some map? Is it some drawing? Is it some calculation? Or it is some statement? Or it's some projection? Or it's something else? What do you say about that? You know, every country got some plan. Every country. Without plan, nothing can be done. What is plan then? Well, actually, there is something in mind. You can say you have some initiative in mind and you have some funding as well. Means you want to develop yourself. You have to develop your state, your nation. For that, some focus is required. But that focus should be objective. That focus should be meant for realization and welfare of everybody. Actually, when we say planning, it means vision of future and how to check and implement that. It's vision of future. It's not simple plan. It's visionary plan and practically implementable plan. What we do in vision, it's just information receiving and how to convert it to human use or some other use. Engineering wise and non-engineering wise, we can say that this is what we think of to do in future. So plan is something different from sketching. It's something different from scheduling. It's some state of mind which says, I'm telling you do this. But that telling you would not work because it must be on record. So plan is actually a document. Plan actually is document of all those ideas assimilating in your mind. Those ideas are brought onto some projective mechanism, whether on paper or somewhere else, so that it can be remembered, it can be reflected, it can be read by everybody, whoever is linked to that. So plan means another project it is. You can say plan is a project within a project. Plan or scheduling, we generally call it. Some call it time schedule, somebody calls it something else, but they don't understand this is only representation. This is only representation of something in your mind. It's not plan actually, it's only a mark. You can say plan document is a mark of state of mind and not one person's mind. It can be state generated state, you can say both ways. It's something in mind that's pushing you to understand it, to rate it, to analyze it, and to do something. And when that mind is brought to papers, it becomes a systematic diagram, systematic graphics. It can be systematic representation, and that's called schedule. Time schedule, or construction schedule, or project schedule, or design schedule. Whatever purpose it suits in, it can be named as such. So don't confuse about planning. It's actually reflection of state of mind in relation to something, and something is project. When you represent project on some paper or on computer device or somewhere else, it's called something to be related to mind and also to be related to project. So it says it constitutes many stages for its complete origin, for its complete processing, whatever constituents this plan has, whatever knowledge is infilled in this, whatever knowledge we have to integrate, and that goes into that plan, or you may also call it work design. It's not structural design. It's some kind of design, time design, quantity related time design, sequence of activities design, and parallel activity designs, and everything which is put on some media so that everybody can read it, because it applies to all those who are involved, and all those who did for that, and all those who would do for that. So it's a big deal in itself that you have to do it yourself. You have to do it yourself depending on your experience, because we cannot simply say, I give this time and that's okay. Yeah, there may be more consideration if somebody else takes into its own view. Therefore, we can say, first of all, what it should be. If you see statistics, if you see parameters required for planning, is how long we have to do this work. How long, or can say in what time we have to do this work. That we have to decide. Nobody will come from moon or somewhere else. It's your capacity, it's your own way, how you want to move this project, to run it fast or to let it run smoothly and honestly. So we can say fixing duration is part 1. Number 1. If we fix duration of planning or work, that's a part of planning. That this project may be so many years. We fix that duration. That's called time period of project, period of project. Then we can say what is the scope. We already fixed the scope. We already fixed duration in charter. We can pull that for purpose of planning as well as for purpose of scope recalling or review. And we again verify what we did there in charter still holds good. Duration as well as planning scope or project scope stand as these were before. We verified. Then we go to schedule of missing information. There could be, because there are hundreds items, maybe more than hundreds, and there may be many buildings in one project. And then we say we have to think from this point of view. All infrastructure services, all other services, etc. must be taken care of. So we cannot blindly move. We have to move with caution, keeping all informations averaged and then doing something on them. We can say there may be some missing information. Of course there could be, because you cannot concentrate within hours on some project. So you may be, it's too late. However, if it's required, you have a chance to restore that. If there is some information which is not in line to what your project is, if the question comes in from vendors, it's better to respond immediately or to respond to state for some other discrepancy. So we can say schedule of mixing information. Then contract review. Contract review means, after all, there should be contract. Otherwise, it's difficult to operate. It's to plan and execute projects. So contract, what contract you are dealing with. Then deliveries listing. Contract review means you should understand under which contract this project has to go and what is time, what's time coming in. Both times are there. So we can say that contract review and deliveries listing. Deliveries milestones, we have to fix them certainly now, not indicatively, not tentatively, but based on concrete calculations. I say deliveries milestones. Then we can say listing of sub-projects. Yes, there can be sub-projects, but all are linked to main supervisors. Alright, so we can say listing of sub-projects, project milestones, and impact of liquidated damages and long lead items. So listing of sub-projects. After all, how many projects are there in one project? How many sub-projects are there in one project? There may be one main building and three four other buildings or small buildings or four like that. We have to think of that how this work shall be organized. And this must be yes. Okay, then we can say listing of sub projects, project milestones, impact of liquidated damages is an important one, because when we do not achieve milestones, we have to delay project. It's delayed automatically. One or two or three or how many buildings are there, structures are there, which is called sub projects. They may be delayed. So milestones we have to care for. We have to give milestones in calculated way. And if we can't do that, we can't achieve milestones in that case, we can say that was we said deliveries are not possible, so impact of liquidated damages and plus long lead items. I explained before what's this time scale problem, and you can say maybe those people took out from funds. Then we want to go to long lead items. I explained many times. This is very very important items, long lead items on every project, which always causes impact on procurement, and project finishes but that item doesn't come in. That's very very dangerous element in the world. That I should not. Yes. Well, possibly if it is good, if it is long lead items are applicable, I would say we should be smart enough that it's not possible in feasible time to buy these items. The project duration is smaller. If there's a margin, you can say yes, it's okay. There is this cost. So long lead items, you can say we have to take care of that, as I said before also. Engineer has to take care of them, or you have to take care of them. If you are doing yourself, then we can say after long items, major items on project, we have to take care of all prime items, whatever are there, which take time and which are very important that you can't move. Then you have to decide about sequences, or what sequences it should be. Then if you do not, you can say activities or NSM sequences, activities in series you should think of, and if there may be chance to parallel those activities to ununified, then is that. Okay, let's move further and see how it works. It says a decision about sequences, which is very important. Then decisions about overlapping activities. Sequences is what? We have to say from takeover of site, survey, and then foundation work. Like that, sequences of activities that would come in, and we have to produce them in some separate document. That's called subcontract. It's possible, which is not to say it's possible. So we can say decision about sequences and work packages, and breakdown structures, decisions about overlapping activities, breakdown structures, and then work packages. What is breakdown structure? Every item that requires to be included a kind of result of, you can say, analysis, and as a result only So now we go on to another one, and that is activities quantification. Because we have done work packages, we have given numbers and codes to every work packages, and detailed activities we have charted out. No need to know all what is detailed activity, maybe 50, 60, 70 activities in one structure, including building structure, the work breakdown structures, packages, and detailed activities. Activities quantification, that's very important part. Quantification of activities. Quantification of activities is very important part of any planning. We have to be very clever about that. Some people do not change it. That is foolishness. Then we can say, let's go further. After we can say quantifications, activities quantifications, we go to, it is a long time consuming, we don't take it easy. It's very long process. Activity quantification, activities and time allocation of activities based on resources or resources driven time allocation plus allocation of dates. Allowance, though, we have to find out quantities, and you can say we have to find out how much resources are required for that, for those quantities which are to be covered certain time. So we have to find out all these activities, all these allocations of resources for this work. Then we have to say time allocation to activities based on resources, and this time only. We can continue this all this, okay? No problem. We say this is allocation of direct resources. Then before we can say allowance, allocation of dates. After dates are allocated to these activities, allocation of direct resources, we have to apply. Application of indirect resources, we have to apply. What is direct resource? Direct expenses on materials, direct expenses everything. And indirect resources which have not indirect control of information. I don't know. Yes. Yes, we can see that. Of course, we can linger on this sense that can say application of indirect resources. We say direct resources. Indirect as I wanted to define before. Direct workforce, direct machines, whatever expenses are directly worked upon, which results in work. That's called direct expenses. And also those expenses which are not direct, as or establishment or something else, where you have to pay from your own. That's called indirect resources, not directly to work, but to project. Both are same as the project life is concerned. Yeah, so we can then say, of course, allocation of direct resources, indirect resources were done. Indirect resources means you may say overheads, you may say those which we cannot foresee, and also we cannot depend only on quantities in that case. So those are resources, a different one. We have to produce human resources, we have to produce workers resources, storing, capacity procurement, and all others which remain pending. It's too long now. Then you can say number of equipment hours, as I said, application of material and activities, base unit rate cost, number of hours, work hours, number of equipment hours, permissible variation in hours. You can find all this based on quantities and time schedule, timeline, and you can check all this. Probabilities of fast tracking impacts that may be successfully applied. Whether option can be converted to fast tracking, that must be taken care of. And permissible variations everywhere. You can say calculation of sub-project cost, calculation of project cost, budget estimates. This is money and it's very important. If you are given money, then what should do? I can't open the money. Okay. So we can move forward into this actionable work, and we can say, okay, we move. Now we go to, we can say, sub-project cost and calculation of project cost, both, and we have to define what is budget, because budget should be within our role, within our decisions. We can't vary that. We can change work quantity, we can change quality to get same budget. Dependence on budget, because budget can be increased. It is a whole national cycle that decides our budget. You can say budget estimates and plan progress histograms or curve we have, and planned inflow of incoming payment certificates. That's also a very important part. We must get equal payment when we enter into in contract. So I have to say we will do this job. This is a planned estimate. The planning just sits with you. It's okay. Otherwise, we can do something else. After that, we can move further. Uh, we have we have decided too much, we have decided excessively or no, we have to see. Then we can say the procurement plan, cash expenditure, payment certificates, we have to decide about what progress we are going to get every month. We have to see this projections, and also we can say cash expenditure based on plan progress, and profit or loss forecasting. Procurement plan schedule, material approvals schedule, drawings, procurement plan schedule, various schedules, progress schedule, expenditure schedule, payment certificates, profit or losses forecasting, procurement plan of schedule, material approval schedule, drawings approval schedule for staff mobilization, demobilization schedule, type of projects organization, recommendation. It's all point that we can consider, have to consider in our plan. It's really fantastic points, and this requires your experience and knowledge of engineering exposure. You had past, I have some leads now who can do it for you. And planning I must having knowledge do all this. PMP is very small, but this much higher than PMP because here give investing your money. Yes. You see people, you see everything in your mind. You can project whatever you want to project. Mobilization, demobilization, schedule, type of project organization. You can set drawings, schedule, recommendations, critical execution problems. You have to consider everything in this. Just keeping silent won't serve. You have to silent means no need of crying, but no need of weeping also. If you think you have to weep, then you have to concentrate on that problem. But the problem is more important than the person. He had to go, he had to go, he had to go. Silence and I was these are points you can say. We have to see critical execution problems. We have to see competency of personnel, suggestions and formation of optimized organization chart, integration of various sub-projects and projects formulate process. So we have to see everything in totality. We have to see chart, its time, schedule, everything. To be compatible with the other one. And we have to capability of rest, connection with rest are no way isolated. If we are isolated by getting pain and body releases, remember there's nothing in that. And you can say formation of optimized organization chart, integration of various projects to formulate or produce or program, then conferencing proposal among management or organization, approval and authorization, then from management making submissions to client, and of course the simple part means we cannot do everything ourselves. We have to take approval of all proposals which you submit for approval from engineer. You have to inform in writing along with samples of possible something else. Engineer is informed. Engineer has to then take supervise and superintend by doing. Then you have to see that submissions are very important, particularly first submission of his time cell, submission of materials, prayers, specific prayers of this day, and can say that all drawings, all proposals, whatever have to go into project. You have to do it. You have to, before doing that, submitted for approval, because no item can be submitted without approvals, and that's a requirement. That's the main point, that approvals and authorizations, making submissions to client, project cost and finance planning, project organization planning. So I have to do all this for purpose of planning, for organization, to make sure that project cost not exceeded, shall not exceed. And then you can say financial planning of itself means how to cost planning. You may say finance planning. You say during project what clause, what cost you need for this size planning, for this production planning. That's very important to understand that point. Project cost, finance planning, then project organization planning, project quality planning, project safety planning, project systems planning, project communication planning, project risk management planning, project and project management document. All plannings here we have to do. Of course, these are indicative plannings. They're not plans. Indicative planning is some time period given around. So we have to go further with closing planning and dealing with work suspension planning and planning demobilization, all that. Yes, there is no one way or other way. It means you have to risk management, you have to do everything we have to do. And we can say project stages of processes. And we have to think of client or honor. On behalf of that, we'll think client or honor meeting, etc., etc. But we have to think of that. We can sit down. So we can say client or owner's responsibility, meeting deadlines to release bid documents. Now what to do? Owner or client has to do different work. That what we say here. Let us say feasibility studies, budget provision, feed documents, bid contractual documents, giving general and special conditions, definitions of risk such as liquidated damages, definitions of technological licenses, definition of transfer of titles for all procurements, design criteria or philosophies, safety requirement documents, quality requirement documents, bid engineering documents, bid specification documents, documents, bid, bid engineering documents, bid specification documents, bid bill of quantities, invitation to bid processes, then bid coordination and clarifications, bid acknowledgements, post bid negotiations, bid rejections or award if awarded, appointment of contractors, appointment and formal notification of engineer and resident engineer, authorization of engineer powers, delegation of resident engineer powers, constitution of project supervising team, and if bid rejected, invitation of bid again that could amend provisions within bid documents. Let's study them one by one now. Let's say client or owner. See, we have to understand client first of all. We generally say client. Client to whom? Actually, it's owner. Owner is client of everybody, but it's client to engineers, client to contractor. Actually, it's owner that is responsible for this project in all respects, total respects. So what should do? We are saying it's owner, but actually engineer works on their behalf. So engineer works on their behalf, and when you start some project, it's duty of honor to make sure or to ensure that this project is required, this project is beneficial to its economy, this project will be saleable, and that project won't give any losses to honor. So that's called to make sure that to establish that we have to conduct certain studies. Those called physical studies we consider, and that's a very important part. We can't say no. We have to understand the point. We have to understand the point. The whatever way we do, it should be well done. Feasible study is that part which justifies a project stands, it works, it should work. That's called feasible study. If feasible study fails, it doesn't fill that. There's no meaning you take off the project. Feasibility means it's going to be possible. It's going to work. It means whatever I plan, what I think of, I contemplate on that plan means it would work. Certainly it can't be guaranteed that time, but as the business exploration is concerned, we can develop this. we can develop this work, and we can think of this. It may be saleable, may be usable, or may gain something in return. That's called feasible study. The feasibility is in short. Feasibility is marked. We say budget how much. We're going to do this. So what budget it costs. Then we can say, okay, budget is fine. We can provide budget in whatever way. We can't describe it, but we have capacity to do that successfully. Then you can say, what about design fee documents? FEED fee, design front end engineering design, because we have got to we need what we have to do, how to design, who's responsible for that, what way it is to be done, is going to work, or do you have technologies for that? Well, it is. Fee is not 2 or 3 page documents, a long book. On big, it depends on what size project is. Means how many items, X disciplines increase in that. That depends on that. Feed is that one. We have to decide complete way which formula, which procedure of designs, all that is completely technical or technical document. So technical document would depend on this, or design document would depend on feed. So feed, you can say, it's a master concern. It's a master director on those projects. So feed can't be neglected. And you can say bid contractual documents, means contractual documents of bid. Bid contract documents giving general specific conditions, means we are going to produce first bid documents, means specifications, and of course feed documents they then design them, and of course then bid specifications we have to bring in, to constitute or stick to some specification. This was general one, and there was specific one, special one. The defining of risk, definition of risks such as liquidated damages, what damages you should claim, means we have to define that. I mean, it should not be heavily done, but it should be rewarding, means contract should care about that. If I do delay, I'll be punished by this recovery from my bills, from my valuations. Definition of technological licenses, of course, is a processing plant or something. That's a licensed one, so that depends on plant projects, means you have to define licenses and award them or sell them, and then the definition of transfer of titles for all procurements. It's very important point. Whatever contractor procures, if you don't procure contractors, it's in contractor's name. All those items which contractor brings and starts and installs must be one day converted to company name of honor. A name of honor has to become honor of all those items. So it's called, exercise definition of transfer of titles, or to transfer all procurements. Design criteria or philosophies, means as I said, design criteria is already fixed, but criteria and philosophies are considered safety requirement documents, safety requirement documents, quality requirement documents, bid engineering documents, bid specification documents, bid bill of quantities, plus invitation of bid and bid processes and bid consultation, clarifications, bid acknowledgements, post that hold them. So we see we have to prepare after deciding we are going to do this project. So complete documents required for this project shall be worked out technically, design wise and feed wise, and you can say complete detailing must be done, and that depends on feed, and then depends on design criteria and philosophies, and we have to consider all points in that, not simply structural design. It's a total quality we have to submit. We have to consider that all safety factors, so you can say construction factors, design factors, planning factors, all knowledge area factors, whatever comes in. The specification and is a very important part. We have to consider all, means what way I have to submit these documents to our prospective bidders, who will be able to read, understand them, and then submit offer. Means it's completely very much professional documentation, because it depends on this cost of offer, what cost or price that contractor offers, bidder offers, For doing this job, taking into consideration lump sum details, all documents on this bid, whatever documents are required shall be required, and all must be prepared, because in absence of documents we cannot create a problem that contractor will run away. I don't understand these documents, I can't quote. I have to bring to notice of document, or if contractor is not very expert or hasn't seen the wall of engineering. And whatever documents we have, we have to first of all, so the buy, or if we alive alone, possibly won't buy, that's not required. So whatever documents we are going to offer for tender, for bid, must be prepared by day and night involvement, by using professional people. There's no non-professional requirement here. Only requirement is there should be an engineering technical applicant, applicant runner, so up to level where bid is submitted or bid is given, bid is documents are given. We have to prepare everything that's required: plans, master plans, schedule, everything, bill, quantity, and invitation. Then we call invitation. Bid process goes on, coordination, clarification, etc. etc. We have to call party. We have to talk about technical bid. We have to talk commercial bid. Both bids we talk about technical. It's very important one, because it depends on what technical we want. Technical bid is actually very reliable document, because without technical capability we cannot say someone to take responsibility. If one understands technicalities of complete project, and then we can say, okay, fine, you are capable when you understand my project. So I give first preference to talk on commercial part of that. So technical bid, commercial bids are required separately these days. Technical bid means gives or shows, indicates, or says, emphasizes on entire consistency, competency of party, competency of tender or bidder, who can claim that I know this job. The guy is not competent enough, not legally capable, or to give you technical bid. That means this person is the inefficient person, not suitable for the job. Can say, or direct them rejected. But we have to first see how many parties are there, how many we invited, and which 2 or 3 are there for further negotiations during pre-award of contracts, called post tender bid investigation. This is saying, and it's a very important part of life. And only we can say, if you are successful, that you can do something. Just by entering home is not enough. You will be free. So then we can say it's pre-tender. Means we have to talk of negotiations, of course. We negotiate with bidder about pricing, about other issues, and that's very important point. Means let us revise what we said in this case of owner. Means starting with feasibility study, budget provision, feed documents. Feed stands for front end engineering design. Then bid contractual documents giving general and special conditions, definition of risks such as liquidated damages, definition of technological licenses, definition of transfer of titles for all procurements, design criteria, philosophies, safety requirements documents, quality requirement documents, bid engineering documents, bid specification documents, bid bill of quantities, invitation to bid processes, bid coordination and clarifications, bid acknowledgement. This is what we say. Then now we say post-bid negotiations, which is also another part of game. It's a very important one. And now we have to just say what we have talked of today. It's very important one, because taking into considerations all this very important point. We must be careful about that. Means it's not simply that a statement is okay. Understanding is very important. Grasp is very important. Not simply making a statement and running away. No, you can read this statement. I need to explain this. You can know from that. But that's all in my mind. That's a put in it. But explanation or corroboration or elaborations are always significant, always supportive, always important, always corroborative. They say we have to take those into our way. Otherwise, we can't say I've done good work. We can't say that. Work is good, we have done this. Yes, you have done this, work is good indeed. But it's solid quality work. Its quality work is system quality, or it is designs based or construction requirement, or it's method statement based. What method we are opting is this method statement here as well. This is a method we are opting in the for bidding. Where method statements it is, and takes time into consideration, it takes cost into consideration, it takes risk into consideration, and it must be reliable. Reliability should be, and it's based on analysis which you are doing, and sum up of synthesis, and thinking we are saying contemplation and application of engineering. This is not what he's talking of. We're talking of politics, which are concepts we take that into our consideration all time. It makes sense. So you can read it once more better, so that we can just. It's very important. Better you read once, twice, thrice, so that you may feel linked in this study. When we decide as client or as owner, we cannot simply take into consideration owner's position. We also take into when suppose I am owner, it doesn't mean I'm everything. I have to keep myself in position of a contractor. I think if if an engineer, it doesn't mean everything. I have to keep myself in position of owner, in position of a contractor. Means I should have capacity to understand their problem. What owner problem has as an engineer I have to consider, and owner has also to understand what contractor problem is. Only then means I can say my documents clearly give message. Means if they call everything every time for every statement I make in my documents or whatever I write, this means somewhere something is wrong. If I am a responsible, experienced owner and also experienced engineer, I must have capacity to think of what contractor would think, particularly engineer it is, because owners they can't expect to be technical all the time. It is commerce, but it's particularly engineer who has to draft these documents, or design these documents, that whatever is written, first of all, it should be suitable for me, I must be able to understand. If I can't understand, how can that person who would become a contractor understand this? So it is self-understanding, self-realization, self-investigation, self-checking. You have to as act as contract yourself for purpose of this documentation, because we cannot harass someone. We have no professional right to harass others. We cannot do that. And if you do that, then we are not engineers. We can't call ourselves engineers. It's our duty to understand everything in clear terms and conditions. Whatever documents for this, for example, feed. If you say feed is required, then feed should be problematic or no problematic. You want to create problem for designer, or you want to solve problem. So it should be problem solver. Same way, contextual documents, conditions, which is say general and special. Of course, we have some feedback on that. But even feedback is there someone else. But ultimately, we have to implement that. We cannot just write in something. We show so long document it is. Well, it doesn't matter if there's a very thick book of contract specification. We should not be happy that it's worth, because someone is required to understand that, lead that, and implement that. And that's where engineer thinks somebody will be there, but there's no one. Or there's someone who can't understand contracts. Means every engineer doesn't understand contract, because contract language is based on different compositions and different conditions. Those conditions play a role, vital role. Therefore, we can say there can be risk hidden in that. Risk hide that you can't do what in time. You should know that if you are wasting 1 day or 1 hour, you're wasting something. Yes. 8 hours day or 10 hours day work, suppose there is 10,000 penalty per day. Let's take into consideration 10,000 penalty. Suppose you lose 1 hour a day, you can say you have lost 1,000 penalty. You get this point. Means if you say I lose 1 day, it depends. Means you cannot simply agree with everything. And technological licenses, what license are they really technological? Is it proven technology or just waste of technology? Then and transfer of that's often very common here to do that. Means what I say, design should be perfect one as far as application of designs by contractor is concerned. Then your document should be speaking one, should be coordinating one. You cannot simply say because I write it, it's absolute. You try yourself. Yes, if you think there's no problem in finding them, linking them, that's okay. Contractor may not find same thing, it's going to find problematic. It's ultimately the contractor who should work on this. And this end stage of contract, that's an important part. This person understands that to make sure. This person understands something is already in mind. That person doesn't try to change until his was spoken. You have to understand that. So as far as this is concerned, everything should be done for perfect use, not for showing. We are not doing any show. We are going to do what? Through contractors, and contractor has to understand this, because if contractor's representative does not understand this, how can they work it? How can say, okay, you have done it, you have to do it, go to hell? And you cannot say that. Go to hell is the So we must think into this way, politely, clearly, professionally. Only then we may be able to say, okay, that's fine. We have this criteria into our consideration, and we can go this way or that way. So this contract composition is very important, which you read, understand again, because if you don't understand these points, you cannot be successful in engineering, in construction. You can be successful nowhere. It's therefore very important. These documents take sometimes years to months to compose. Bid rejection or award. Bid rejection or award. If awarded, appointment of contractor, appointment and formal notification of engineer and resident engineers, authorization of engineer powers, and delegation of resident engineer powers, constitution of project supervising team, and if bid rejected, invitation of bid again that could amend provisions within bid documents. Now before going further, I would like to link it to something else which is very important one, and I think it should be somewhere here. Let me see where it can be found. I hope we shall be found somewhere in this category. It should be, and say, let me find it please, so just hold on. This is general records. I think it should be let me hold on please, just give me some time. I'm trying to find something very important here, and that's very Dick, where is that? I think not in this file, somewhere else it is. Let me see where it is. Maybe here, I think. Zero course. Zero course. And Vidic. I think it's saying, yeah. So I'm showing you something here that's called a book, which you are looking at now. This is document of contract, standard document of contract. It's for construction, and this document is very important from ownership and from contractor viewpoint. Because ultimately this document, which if adopted fully or you can say in parts, depending on engineer and owner as well as contractor, how far shall be successful to this project under consideration. This will be considered well, and it will serve various specifications, various descriptions, red book, which means this is a standard contract of construction where design is provided by owner and work is carried out by contractor. These are general conditions of contract, which has chapters like general provisions, what is employer, what is the engineer, what is contractor, what is subcontracting, what is staff and workers, labor, what are plant materials and workmanship, what are commencement delays and suspension, what is test and completion, employers taking over, defects after taking over, and then it is measurement and valuation, variations and adjustments, contract price and payment, termination by employer, suspension and termination by contractor, care of works and indemnities, exceptional events and insurance, employers, contractors claim, and disputes and arbitration. And there's appendix, general conditions of dispute avoidance, and then other clauses in this. So if you go back, we'll see. And there are general conditions gone, definition of terms will take care of it. I'll again say dispute arbitration is the last one. And employers and contractors claim, insurance, and exceptional events. I'm going back. care of function, indemnity, suspension, termination of contracts, and termination by employer, and you can say contract price and payment, of course, and variations and adjustments, measurements, valuations, and of course defects after taking over, employers taking over, testing completion, commencement delays and suspension, then plans, materials and workmanship, and staff and workers, subcontracting, and contractors, engineer, employer, general provisions. These all, for example, in this we have to take into considerations or very well while making contract documents that we have to define. It says, let's take chapter 1 only. Definitions. We must give definitions of everyone. We have to interpret, means interpretation. How shall be interpretation? What is the legal way to interpret these conditions? Notice and other communication. We have to write about that. But standard procedure we are going to adopt. And law and language. Which law is applicable? Which language is applicable? There is a priority of documents. How these documents should be interpreted in sequence, and we have to define that one. And contract agreement. What does it mean actually? What is contract agreement? Definition. Assignment. What's that? And care and supply of documents. Who will take care of this? Will supply to whom? And delayed drawings or instruction. There is delayed drawings or responsible for the instruction. Then employee laws, joint and several liability limitation. That means you have to explain everything in all these points, not only in this. And that's where we have to keep in mind while while deciding about contract. It's only one chapter. I just explained to you the other chapters as well. Means clear picture you should have as an engineer, as an owner, as a contractor. All should speak on same page. If there's a difference between engineer and contractor, or between owner, contractor, or owner and an engineer, then contract cannot be completed. That point is contract completion is a must. Means contract agreement can be done only when all parties agree. Engineer accepts that, owner accepts that, and contractor accepts that. Because ultimately, until all these parties don't accept their ability, of course, the engineer is not a party on contract, but engineer is expert, advisor, expert, writer, expert, responsible. In fact, there's a triangle, but the contract is between two persons, two parties. Even there is a triangle, and this triangle parties, triangular individualities must agree on these conditions with normal understanding as well as with elaborate understanding. Clarifications can be required, and if is required by contractor, engineer is bound to clarify on behalf of employer. And if engineer cannot do that, there's a question mark always there. So it is a big question mark here itself, that you have to understand this point. If there are other chapters as well, this employer means right of access to site. Employer needs that. Assistance, about that we have to define. Employer's personal and other contractors we have to define. Employer's financial arrangements we have to define. And of course, site data and items of reference we have to define. Employer supplied materials and employer's equipment, like that we have to define. About engineer, what is engineer? What does it mean? Engineer's duties and authority we have to define. Engineer's representative we have to define. And then we can say delegation by engineer we have to define. Engineer's instructions we have to define. Replacement of engineer we have to define. Agreement or determination we have to define. And meetings we have to define. Likewise for everybody we have to define what should be done. We'll take this into considerations later on. Of course, we are taking considerations because it's only for purpose of reference. I try to give you. Of course, it's a good one. Same thing was said here. We take into consideration our or that page as well. And this will say as post-contract, post-bid negotiations with rejection or award. If awarded, appointment of contractor, and this according to that format of contract. And appointment and formal notification of engineer, resident engineer, authorization of engineer powers, delegation of resident engineer powers, and constitution of powers for the project supervising team, and if rejected, meditation pick again that I will explain later on. Same way what bidder has to do in his own office, because it's also responsibility of contractor to do something. That's what we'll take off. Then you can say so. Likewise, we know we have gone through certain very complicated and serious stages that may work, and that's very, of course, we can say we are going through certain phase of engineering and contract. It's not easy to be isolated. If you are doing engineering, you have to deal with contract. If you are dealing contract, you have to deal with engineering, because both are clothes of each other. No different clothings, engineer clothes and contract clothes, design clothes are same, only orientation is different. One has to think of design, one has to think of conditions, one has to think of speed, so you can't separate them. The civil engineer includes the contractor. The contractor may or may not include civil engineer. I have to move that way every day, one day. There is no curtailment of that. We have to do what is to be done. It is contract, it is engineering, it is not game. Contract is serious business. It's no game, no football, no cricket. It's responsibility, it's obligation, it's accountability, it's liability, it's money loss, it's mercy gain, it's project loss, project gain. It's engineering means quality. Engineering means quality application. And if you can't do quality application, how can I answer that? So far my impression is different, has been different. Most people, most stops. Alright, we have to think that contractor cannot move without total understanding of contract, because contract is a liability. One spends money, money should not go waste, specification must be perfect, engineer must understand problems of others, owner should also pay in time, and without payment work cannot be done, without specifications work cannot be done, without designs work cannot be done. So all these three persons should stand together to move project to a success. If you leave project in middle because of whatever fault or because of whatever mistake, then all three suffers. All three these. My employer suffers because delivers are not finalized, and that engineer suffers because on there. He's everything, and we say who suffers. Next one. Meanwhile, I can say, if you understand contract like this, contract shall be a success. If all these three are serious, I don't think there should be any problem of understanding. If you follow what I said, engineering, if you follow this file, you follow applications, if you follow contemplation, if you follow thinking, if you follow analysis and synthesis, if you follow reliability, if you follow check risks and cost and time, if say method statements, you understand construction designs and quality, it's both ways, you can say. varied like this. Before closing, I'm just trying to show you. Just moving on and on. Now you're going to see all this once again. No problem. You can also see other one day, so that at least you remember what we talked of. It's also very important one. Let's move down first and see how. Okay, I think we should take our time, go, Saf. I think we'll continue the same next time. 3 hours already over. Thank you very much. I hope